Good afternoon, folks. Home Handyman again. I'm going to read some questions off the forum, and then we're going to discuss how you use an electric hand planer. Lots and lots of questions on the forum. There's a lot of good content for me. I can always find a topic that I'm interested in and do a how-to video. So some of the questions and answers, let me go through a few of them because I'm not going to do videos on them. Somebody had said, hey, when you laminate boards, you have to use like dovetails, or you got to use wooden dowels, or you have to use something to join those two boards together like this in order to make them sturdy and work. That's true to a point, but I can use epoxy, I can use my weld bond glue, I can use Gorilla Glue. Any of those will join these two surfaces and make them rock hard. Especially for me, because I'm going to make a sign, and I'm going to take you through the entire process. I have a commissioned sign project or what have you from somebody at work that wants me to make one that says the Speakeasy, like it was back in Prohibition, and sent me pictures to see if I could replicate it, and that's what we're going to try to do. So the way I'm going to start this is I had to figure out the dimensions. And she actually sent me the dimensions and saying, hey look, I only want it like 12 feet wide and 3 feet long because she has an exact space she wants it to fit into. And I'm like, okay. So I rooted around and I got some Doug fir 2x8s, 2x10s, I got 2x6s, I got 2x everything. So I rooted around and I found a couple of boards that when I join them together, it'll give me more than 12 inches wide, more than 3 feet long. So this video I'm going to cut into two sections because we have to wait for the glue to dry on the boards when I show you how I do the glue up. But the first thing is you can't take the two boards and just glue them together because they have this factory kind of like rounded edge on them, and I want to join the two boards and make it look like one solid board the best I can. And we're going to apply some stains or some dyes, so I'm not real concerned over a perfect grain matchup and a perfect color matchup. What I'm concerned about right now is getting the dimensions that the customer wants correct. So what I'm going to use today, instead of a hand planer, which I hate doing and I avoid using it, in order to joint that edge on both pieces so that we can join them in a nice level fixed plane, I usually would use my router table. It's over here. And I can set it with a little offset and I can use it like a joiner, and that works fairly well. But at one of these garage sales I came across for, I think it was 10 bucks, I couldn't pass it up, this hand planer. Now it's made by Porter Cable, it's not one of the top ends, but it was brand new, it seemed to be okay. I plugged it in, it fired up, and the guy I guess found it frustrating to use, or he just didn't want it anymore. Well, okay. So let's go over a couple of things. This is the on and off trigger. This knob right here sets the depth of this cutting blade. See if I can rotate it here and show you. There's a cutting blade. Now what's nice about this cutting blade is these are easily removable and replaceable. I'm not going to try to resharpen them. I may or may not in the future, but I think they're inexpensive replacement blades and it's just as easy to put a new pair on. Okay. Now somebody said, well, what is this groove right here? There's a little V groove. You can actually take the edge of a board and lay it like this on that groove and run that planer down it and it'll chamfer the edge. Now I might do that later on, or I'll get a scrap piece of wood maybe and show you, but that's what that groove right there is for. So let's flip it over. This is the extraction port. It blows tons of stuff out. You'll see it when I demo it in a minute. This right here I can set up, I won't do it today, there are guides that come with it that actually would make it so like if you're doing a bigger board and you're planing it, it gives you like, I don't know how to explain it without setting it up, it's like a guide, but I'm going to use it without the guide, I'm just going to use it like a hand planer. Okay, so I never, when I'm using it, when I'm done using it, I don't set it down like this or like this because these are the induction ports and you'll suck shit right into here, and I like to take care of my tools. So I blow these out, and when I'm done, what I like to do when I'm done is I find something to set it on. Let's just say this is a piece of wood. It's not, it's metal. But like I'm done using it and I just go like this, okay? It keeps the blade off of everything. It keeps my ports away from all of the crap and the debris. And it works real well. So I'm trying to see if there's anything on the specs. So we're saying 120 volt. The model 125J power climber. Safety trigger. Not really a whole lot else. There's nothing you can do. This knob right here isn't really for anything in particular. It just, I don't know what it's for unless you want to split the cases open. So, okay, that's about it. I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to hook up one of these planks in my wood vise and show you how this works. Okay, here I've got it set up. I have the board in the vise, and I'm going to plane the edge of this, and after this we're going to go cut it down to size. So I've got it secured in my wood vise. Take a shot at it. Now, what you want to do with this is you want to start it off of the wood, back here. Here we go. That's it. Now, the hard part for people that they make a mistake doing is they have their hand here, which is okay, and when they get to the end, the hand's still there, and this thing will dig in. It'll make a little hoop-de-doo in the wood. So as you get to the end, you want to bring your hand back, keep it steady and smooth, and just take it right off of the end of the board. Okay? That's the easiest way to do that. And when to do that to both of these, we're going to take them over the compound saw. We'll cut them to size, and I'll show you how to glue them up. All right, again, the wind's blowing, so I'm going to talk a little loud. Now, what I have on mine, I have these extensions on each side. I can pull this out over here, give myself a little bit more support. Come down. This right here helps me set the angle. Nice 90-degree cut. I bring my blade down. It doesn't have to be exact right now. We're just doing some rough cuts. That's it. We'll do the other one the same way. Nice and snug this way. Bring it in. Bring my blade down approximately. That's about it. Now, I push down and back into this guard. That's it. Right there. Alright, let's stop this. Let's go back to the workbench and I'll show you the glue up. Okay, I got the boards back on the bench. The wind's still blowing, so I'll try to talk a little bit loud. This is where a lot of people go wrong when I was reading on the forum. Yes, when I go to the lumber yard, I take a look at the lumber down the edge like this, and I see if it's bowed, and I flip it over and I look down it this way and see if it's cupped. And you want to get the straightest boards you can. So that's a good rule of thumb to go by, and I do that, but you still at times are going to get a little bit of twist maybe towards the end, or maybe a little bit of cupping. Okay, so that's one issue. So that's the first thing I look for. The second thing that I'm going to look for, how many knots are in this board, okay? Because if I only have a knot way over here and I got one way down there, it's still a good board. I can cut and get rid of the knots if I don't want them as part of a decoration in the project that I'm doing. So I look for the knots, and then I look at the character of the wood. Sometimes you get, not all the time, but sometimes you get some really cool patterns in the wood, and I think, wow, I gotta have this piece, you know. So I'll go ahead and I'll buy it. Now if you go to Home Depot, Lowe's, you're going to spend quite a bit of time, I'll tell you right now, sorting through lumber. That shit is so twisted and so warped, you're going to sort through a lot of it before you start to find one board or two boards that you can use. Now if you're using the boards for rough-in work, it probably doesn't matter, but when you're using it for finish work, like making a sign, making a box or something that's important, you want the absolute straightest lumber you can get. Okay, back to this. The next decision is I take one board at a time. My bench is fairly flat. See, look, I got a little bit of rock in this thing. Well, let's flip it over. Now, when I flip it over, although it's got that little bit of unevenness on the other side, on this side, it's an exaggeration, but it's like this, okay? So now I have the stability on both ends. I can take care of this. I'll show you how to take out that very minimal amount of warpage in through here in a minute. So now I take a look at the next board and I do the same thing. Now, before I go to the next board, this board's got a knot in it, and I'll show you how we can try to hide that the best that we can. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. That's pretty flat, kind of, you know. So I look at this side's all gunked up with shit and stained and whatever else, but I can get rid of all that. Let's look at the other side now. The other side's got this great big old knot hole cut out, but it didn't go all the way through. I can still use this, and I can hide this, and I can make it part of the back, okay? And I can fill that in, sand it, throw something dark on there and hide it. So that eliminates this side. So now let's go back to this side. Now the next thing is, I'm going to put these together and see how the two of them line up with each other. Not so good that way. Let me turn it this way. Better, but not all that perfect. Okay, so we've messed around with this one. So now I flip this one around just to see. Now, alright, let's go back to this side like it was. We got a little bit of gap that we have to play with, and that's not that big of a deal. I'll show you what we'll do to take that up in a minute. Or we will try to. We fail, we fail. Okay, so we've got the board the way that we want it. Next thing is decide on the glue. Now, I can use 1 to 3 glues. Here's Tight Bond. It's a good glue. There's Gorilla Glue. That's another good glue, but we got to get the edges wet first. And here's Weld Bond. Now, I'm starting to favor this more and more, but I also do really like Gorilla Glue. Nothing wrong with Tight Bond too. So any one of these 3 glues, they're my favorites. Kind of mix them up, use them. Maybe we'll try Gorilla Glue and I'll show you how I use that. One sec, let me get this thing prepared. Okay, now normally I would put something underneath of this, like a piece of plastic or something, just while I'm doing the glue up. Then I'll take the whole project and set it somewhere totally away from my workbench to dry. I don't have it right now, so we'll go ahead and go without it. So I'm going to turn both these up on their edges right now, like this. Okay, just like that. Now, so that we don't router through it later, I'm going to mark up here about where that knot is so we don't screw that up. Okay, so now I'm going to take water, just simple water, and I'm going to wet these edges. That's kind of what you got to do with this Gorilla Glue. Gives you better adhesion than if you did it without it. Okay. Out at Harbor Freight, you can get like a ton of these little acid wash brushes or whatever. I got a bunch of them. I like to use them for the glue ups. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so I coat both sides of this, or I'm sorry, the edge of this. I just run my finger right on down it like this. Okay, and I get all on the edges everywhere. Same up here. Okay. Paper towel. You want to try to keep everything as clean as you can. And I don't want a ton of this stuff leaking out, and I'll explain to you in a minute because it makes it really difficult for sanding. So I'm going to put this back down on that flat surface. We're going to line this up. And I use bar clamps. Okay, now. Alright. Using bar clamps, I put my first one on and I try to keep the edges and everything lined up. And I snug it. Now you don't want to tighten these things and bust the gut because you'll squeeze the glue out that you want in the wood. And I try to keep the surface of this clean as I go through it. So there's one end. Now I go over to the other end and I do the same thing. That doesn't hurt anything. To go along here, I put a little bit of water and I wipe my joints real well. It's not going to hurt anything at all. Now, you're going to see some unevenness right in here. So what I do next, I just find a block of wood like this and I take this like this. Now, I've got lots and lots of pipe clamps. You can never run out of clamps. And I'm going to flip this up. And you can see I made a mess of the bench. We'll take care of that in a bit. And I'm going to put another pipe clamp right here. And I'm going to start to tighten it down, just snug it. Okay, camera stopped. I had to change batteries, but let me show you what I did. I put clamps down here. There's a bar clamp, there's an Irwin clamp. I put a couple cross members in the middle and clamped it so it brings the middle part up pretty damn near flush. There's the other end clamp, there's the other Irwin. And then I used this spray bottle here with water in it and I went all over it, well, the glue joint, and with a paper towel I took up as much of the glue as I can. Now the reason why is it'll save me grief when this is set up and ready for us to rough sand. I won't gum up and have to throw away my my belt sanding belts as quickly. So I don't have a whole lot of glue there. Spritz a little water here. It doesn't matter how wet you get it. Remember, we're going to sand it and do other things to it. So why so many clamps? Well, and don't over tighten them, okay? You don't have to make it. If you do, you starve the joint of the glue and the adhesion you're trying to make. You'll squeeze it all out. So you just snug them down and then just take a look at your joints and make sure that they look good. Put the board in here, secure everything up. Now I'm going to take this whole thing and I'm going to move it away from everything. And we'll let it dry for 2-3 hours, maybe 4, and I'll take the clamps off of it, but then I don't touch this for 24 hours. I don't care what it says on any of the labels or anything else. I don't want any problems. I got plenty of other projects. This is how I do the glue up, so you never can have not enough clamps. If the board was bigger, the board was wider, I would have to get out my large bar clamps. But this is how you clamp it up, and you want to keep everything. Now if you have a little bit off here, where it's a little bit off, you want to bring that up best you can. Now if it's a little off, no big deal. We can take it down and make it look perfect both sides with that belt sander when it comes time. Okay, I'm going to pause this, we're going to let it dry. I'll be back to you tomorrow and we'll pick up on it from there. Thank you, and I'll see you soon. Okay, that's going to conclude part 1 of laminating boards and using a hand plane, an electric one. We'll make a sign going forward. Like I said, the lady wants one that says "Speakeasy." So I'm going to pan around, I'm going to show you one more shot of the glued up board. Next video, we're going to sand the surface of it and we're going to get it all nice and smooth across the top. Then I'm going to take and cut it to length width. Then I'll lay out the sign itself and the lettering and the fonts and all that, and I'll show you how to do it and how to square things up and how to do the letter layout and all that. Stay tuned, and I hope you folks have a good day. Click subscribe and leave me a comment. Thank you. Bye-bye.